story of a marriage, pretty basically. And the book kicks off with Amy Dunn, the wife. She's in her early 40s, correct?
Yes.
She goes missing, and we're told the story from two different points of view. We have a current point of view from her husband, Nick, as he finds out that his wife is missing and is working with the police to figure out what happened. And alternating chapters are Amy's diary, which began with the day that they met and leads up to their dating and courting in the course of their marriage up until she goes missing. So we get this, kind of different view of the relationship. And then the book kind of flips, to say the least. And we will be discussing this book with, it's Cali, by the way, like short for California, she said. We will be discussing this book with spoilers because we assume that everybody who is joining in has read the book, so we will not be holding back.
Otherwise, goodbye, and then come back and check the video after you've read the book.
Exactly. We'll have an edited version of this chat up on our website sometime this week, so you can get it done then. Okay, so who wants to start with their overall impressions?
I don't care. Do you want me to start?
Go ahead, Barbara.
All right. First of all, I am Barbara, and I am a writer for VaginaCon.com. I write the Have You Heard column and Barbed Wired. I'm not a mystery or thrillers person, so I'm going to go on the record as saying when this was assigned, I was kind of iffy about it, and I'm so grateful that I read it because she is a master craftsman of a writer. She has an excellent turn of phrase. She's incredibly talented. The book kept me flipping page to page thinking, we've all seen these standard plots of, this happens and then, they're so predictable and you can always tell what's going to happen. And in this case, every time I turn the page, I'd go, oh, okay, yeah, I got it now, I got it. And then I'd flip the page and go, shit, that's not what happened at all. So it really kept me on my toes. I will say, though, the ending, when I closed the book, I turned to my husband and just said, I don't know how to feel right now because I feel kind of sick and kind of titillated and kind of like, oh my goodness, what a cool ending. But at the same time, I was weeping for the end of this marriage. So I'm really grateful that I read it. I'd recommend it to anybody, even if you don't think yourself as a mysteries and thrillers person.
Awesome. Linnea?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about, first of all, I have to say that there was a box that I got from one of our writer friends, and I didn't notice it till last night, and it came like while I was still reading the book, and she was like, so I hear you're at 50%, and I just wanted to ask you if you hear the sound of rubber gloves snapping, because Gillian Flynn is about to bend you over and just put her hand right up your ass. You're about to be molested. And I don't know if I would compare it to that, but I did. They're definitely. This was a book that surprised me, and I do like thrillers, and I am one of those annoying people who's really good at predicting what's going to happen in the movie. Like Bob hates it because I'm always like, oh, he did it, and he's like, shut up, And this book just floored me, and you guys know what part I'm talking about, but I just did not see it coming at all, and I loved that. So I enjoyed the book very much. I do think I did have a little bit of a problem with the denouement at the end, the third section, where I felt it started to get a little bit like, oh, okay, now it's just now we're just throwing bombshells out there to mess people up. But I did like it. I felt it was really strong. I really enjoyed her writing.
I enjoyed it too. It's actually my favorite book we've read so far. And it's also my favorite book that I've probably read this year. But then again, I also read 50 Shades of Grey and an Amanda Hocking book. So really,
you need to be cleansed.
Right. But yeah, I loved it. And the one of the first people I knew who was done with it when I was done, because you immediately want to discuss it. You want to discuss it while you're reading it. You want to discuss it when you're done. One of the people I knew was done was Barbara. She's been done for a couple of weeks, and so I boxed her. And I'm so glad that this happened then and not now. And I told her this because I didn't even realize until I was talking. Like, I got all teary-eyed, and I was like, oh my God, if this happened on the video, I would totally look like an idiot. But I told her I'm so glad that I read it right before I'm about to get back into writing, because it just reminded me of why I write. I was like, this is exactly why I write, and this is why I love to read books. Like that feeling of, Oh my God, I just have to talk about this. Do you know? So I enjoyed it. And I have to stop letting myself get caught up in hype because I will say, like, the first 15%, I had seen people like Barbara say, oh yeah, I could not put this book down. I saw people said they read it in 2 days. So when I was at like 13, 15%, I was like, yeah, I'm not getting that. Like, what am I missing? And I was prepared to be disappointed. But oh God, I just had to just keep going just a few pages more. And then I was just like, yeah, I can't put this down.
Right.
Like everybody else has said, it's very well written. I'm actually going to go back. I bought her first book, which I'm going to be reading while I'm writing mine because everybody's like, you see the progression.
What's that one?
Sharp Objects.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just bought that yesterday. And so, but I'm just curious to see her growth as a writer because everyone is like, you'll see the difference. But yeah, very well written. I felt like, yeah, it was, I was prepared because people had warned me, like, you're going to think you know and you don't know. I thought the book was I thought we were just getting a look at the typical, good-looking, middle-aged white couple, seem to have it all. The wife goes missing. Turns out the husband did it. Everyone's shocked because he's like, the boy next door. I really thought that we were just getting that story. And so before we flip into the twist, let's talk about the beginning of the book. I hated everyone. Like, I didn't like, for the people who are, to be clear, we're getting his point of view, and she did a very good job of making him suspicious, right?
Yeah.
One of the first things I underlined was, he wakes up in the morning, she's making breakfast, she says something to him, and he goes, "Bile and dread inched up my throat. I thought to myself, okay, go."
Yeah.
And then the chapter, the paragraph ends, and then the very next jumping off point is, I was very late getting to work. So you're automatically thinking, what happened in between that time? Did he kill her? I thought he was very unlikable. I thought she was unlikable because from her diary entry, she's very, she kind of...
You used the word doormatty when you were talking to me about it.
Yes, she was a doormat. She made excuses for his behavior, but you're sympathetic to her though at the same time, right? Because
yes,
it's like, oh
absolutely.
God,
That's why I even though, like I said to you, I found them flawed, but I think it made me so terribly sad for this couple. Like that this marriage is just disintegrating.
And it's relatable in that way, too, because she said little turns of phrase that whether you're married, I have a very strong marriage, and I know both of you do, too, to someone I'm totally enamored of, yet still, the little phrases that she used that showed the times that you've picked at each other that kind of stick with you, or the times that your partner didn't notice something you've done and you felt so slighted. She was really great at incorporating those little relatable things in that every marriage feels, which made us relate to these characters even when we didn't particularly like them that much.
Yeah. And we should point out that the book kicks off the day that she goes missing is their 5th wedding anniversary. And she's had this tradition, Amy, where she would create a treasure hunt for him. So he'd get like a first clue at the house and it would lead him to someplace. The clue should lead him to someplace that's important, in their relationship, where he'd get another clue and so on and so forth. And by the time he's 4 or 5 clues down and 4 or 5 locations down, he gets his present. And it matches the theme of the anniversary. So if year 1 is paper, it's a paper present, etc. But when we're getting his point of view after she's gone missing and he's talking about this, one of the reasons I didn't like him was he talks about how hard those treasure hunts were for him and how guilty she made him feel because the fact that he couldn't always get the clues, it made it seem like he didn't view these, what she thought were important moments and milestones and in their relationship. He didn't see them as important. So at the same time that I'm feeling...
It's a very real couple thing,
Yeah.
Right.
And at the same time that I'm feeling bad for him, I feel annoyed with her because I was like, why don't you see that? Like, I felt like, you could see both sides of it, especially if you've been married, or you could see where the same issue can be viewed 2 totally different ways.
Yeah, right.
And maybe
although part of me was like, pay attention, motherfucker. Like, really? You're not noticing any of this stuff?
Well, what did he say? He said one year his highest record, because I think it was like 5 or 6 clues.
He went 2 for 7, I think. He said that, and that was his best year. Okay, so Bob says in the chat room that he reread the book only reading his parts. Nick's parts. And he said he doesn't seem like a dick at all if you just read his parts. Like, all the parts that made him seem awful were in the diary entries.
Well, he's a guy, right?
But I thought, like, I was just going to say, he tells you very early on he's a liar. Right. And whenever a narrator does that, I pay attention. Yeah. And there's one part that I highlighted where there's a couple of times where a woman tells him what to do, not his sister and not his mother, but like the female detective. Yeah. Or other women where his internal monologue, he flips the hell out. And I thought, these are signs.
But he's feeling his dad, right? Like he was raised by a man who was a terrible misogynist who reduced every woman. He says, I grew to hate that word bitch, 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 because that's what my father used to call all women. And I think the way he was raised, he disassociates himself from women, even the ones he loves. Because I highlighted a thing where he says he's talking about Amy and when they were first together and how she never felt he was paying attention to her. And he said it was enough to be near her and hear her talk. It didn't always matter what she was saying. It should have, but it didn't. Mm-hmm. And that's, echoing, right, what she's feeling. Like, I'm here and you love me, but you're not listening and paying attention to me. And all these little things add up as the tension is building in this book.
I felt that there was one part where he says, I feel my father's rage rise up in me in the ugliest way. And this is on page 61, so it's fairly early on. We don't know, about the flip yet. I feel my father's rage rise up in me in the ugliest way. Amy could tell you about that. She would definitely tell you if she were here. And in his own words, he's sometimes admitting to not, you know what I mean?
Yes, so that's something Bob says too. He says Nick is very self-aware of right and wrong and good behavior and bad, which is, a nice contrast to Amy, who just sees it as like, this is what I have to do.
And I think when you reread it, there's so many clues about what's going to happen that she has masterfully woven in. Like Amy keeps talking about, there's another thing I highlighted, Nick talks about how he didn't pay attention to this intense person who's feeling slighted, and then she's always saying these things like, I underlined, isn't that the point of every relationship, to be known by someone else, to be understood? He gets me, she gets me. Isn't that the simple magic phrase? And you think, all along, Amy's been who she is, and we'll find out who she is at the end, and she's leaving these little clues of, but this is who I am, and he's supposed to love me anyway. Mm-hmm. So that really builds up at the end when you look back and go, oh my God.
Well, but I think she had woven in, I think she had woven in little clues about that things are not going to be the way you think they're going to be. Even in little things, like I had highlighted, when Nick and Go open up the bar, and they think they're going to have this little meta joke on the local yokels, and they're going to call it the bar, and nobody's going to get it. And like the first customer who walks in is this 60-year-old gray-haired lady who's like, yeah, that's awesome. It's like breakfast at Tiffany's. And they're like, what? So they're his expectations of the way things are going to go, you just know they're off.
Yeah. Bob said every guy is guilty of not listening to his wife as intently as he should, or is it just Nick and me? No, I feel like, especially when we got to points where we're getting, he may have talked about something early in their relationship, and then a couple of chapters later, we get her diary entry about it, and you can see the juxtaposition of how they saw it differently. But I didn't necessarily think that one was lying over the other. I just thought that that's how it is. Like, men and women see situations totally differently. Right. And but I will tell you that I did not. It got to the point where I thought we were like 23% in. I didn't like anyone when she's at the computer. He's lost his job. She's lost, I think at this point now she's lost her job. But anyway, she's at the computer, she checks her trust fund. And as you guys know, and people watching, her parents were psychologists, and they wrote a book. They wrote a series of children's book called Amazing Amy, and the character is based off of her, and it made them very, very rich. And she has this trust fund at this point at the start of the book. It's like $800,000 in it. Earlier in the book, we know that she gave him the last of her trust fund, and I believe he said it was like $80,000 or $90,000 to open the bar. So when we get to the diary entry where she says it's almost $800,000 in there, I'm thinking, how the hell did we get to the point where the last of it is just, a short year or so later, and it's like $80,000, $90,000. And then the same night, her parents come over, and they admit that they've made some bad choices and bad decisions, and they're broke. And they asked for $650,000 of her money. And without even consulting, I think Nick says, well, honey, maybe we should. And she cuts him off and she goes, let me go get my checkbook. And I thought, bitch, this is why he killed you. You can't.